Howdy, folks. Decided to do a video here, and I thought I'd just talk about some various topics that are going on. I thought I'd start out with the games that I've been playing. I play a lot of World of Warcraft, but I decided to kind of take a break a little bit from that, and I've been playing some single-player stuff. Played a little, started out with Diablo 3. I downloaded the starter edition. It's free, just so I could try it out, see if I liked it. Because I never really played Diablo 2 or the first one. And for some reason, I don't even know why, I never got into them or whatever. I think at the time I was playing Neverwinter Nights and Neverwinter Nights 2. And so because those were, you know, Dungeons and Dragons products, and I'm a big D&D guy, so I think that I was pretty much obsessed with those at the time. And so anyway, so I started this new Diablo 3 Starter Edition just to give it a shot, and I like it. It's pretty good. It's pretty engaging, pretty addicting right off the bat. It kind of draws you in. Everything's very the way I find it is it's very intuitive, all controls, and it's very user friendly. I mean, you basically you know, anybody that has played, you know, any kind of RPG games before is you don't need any kind of a tutorial, really. I didn't need one. I mean, it's pretty much, you know, self-explanatory. So I finished that Starter Edition in, you know, pretty much in record time, I'm guessing. So I'm debating on whether or not I want to pay for the digital download, or if I actually want to get a physical copy. I like to get the physical copies because I like, you know, like I've said before, you know, if I could afford it, well, I can afford it, but if I didn't think that $150 was too much to spend on a collector's edition, I'd probably order the collector's edition off of Amazon. But I'm not prepared to pull the trigger on that kind of cash even for a collector's edition. I mean, it's got some cool stuff in it and everything, but that's just too steep, I think. So I'm just debating on whether or not I want to get a physical copy or if I want to do the digital. So I was checking that out, and then so that made me kind of curious because I have Diablo 2. It was given to me as a gift, and I never even installed it. So I decided to install it and check it out and play around with it and everything. And man, I got to tell you, that what a difference between, you know, I know it was something like 8 years between Diablo 2 and Diablo 3, but the difference in the graphics and everything in that 8-year period was like night and day. And I know there's some high-res mods and stuff that I could download for D2 if I wanted to, but you know, with these new bigger monitors, you know, I use a 26-inch monitor, and D2 looks terrible. And I'm sure at the time, you know, it was. I'm just trying to remember back, but yeah, it'd be rough to try and. I could do it, but it'd be rough to try and get through an entire game with those graphics without downloading some kind of a high-res pack or whatever. So so I was checking that out, and then it of course it got me thinking about, you know, reinstalling Neverwinter Nights 2 because I never finished it. I got quite a ways through it, and for whatever reason, so, you know, I think we were moving or something, and I stopped. So I found my save games on a, you know, another computer that I've got, transferred them over and installed it and everything and fired up. Completely lost. It's like I have no recollection of like all the mechanics of the game and everything. I mean, it's almost like I want to start from scratch again because it's so foreign. It's been so long since I played it. So, and the graphics on that are, you know, still to this day, they still look good. So I may do that. I may start from scratch and just see if I can finish it this time, and I know there's a couple of expansion packs for Neverwinter Nights 2, and I never did get those. So anyway, that's kind of what I've been tinkering around with. And then today, of course, I log on Steam and see that they've got their Christmas sale going. And, you know, my wallet starts, like, literally jumping out of my pocket, you know, saying, here, buy this, you know. And, you know, look at that, it's 75% off, you know. And before you know it, if I wanted to, I could probably spend $100, you know. I saw that Borderlands 2 is on sale. I never played the first one, but everybody that I've talked to said that they're both fantastic. So one of the questions I've got, I got a buddy of mine that I think's played both of them, and I texted him waiting to see if because I want to ask him if you need, it's one of those things where you need to play the first one to kind of understand the storyline going into the second one. Because if not, I would just get the second one and start from that. I don't. You know, if it's not something where you know, I'm sure you don't import your character like you did in the old days, where you know, with Neverwinter Nights, I think from the first one to the second one, you could import your character and you know, keep it going or whatever. And but I don't think with Borderlands, I don't think that's the case. So I may just start with the second one. So and I saw some other stuff on there. You know, Torchlight 2 was all, you know. I played the first Torchlight, and that one's on sale, and Arkham City's on sale, 75% off, and Fable 3. I've never played any of the Fable series, but it's a console port, so I'm always a little wary about ports. I tried the Assassin's Creed series on PC, and with keyboard and a mouse, it just didn't feel right, you know. And I just don't, I've never played with a controller on the computer, so it just didn't mesh for me. So I'm a little wary about Fable 3. It looks interesting, but I'm a little wary. So if any of you out there if you guys have played any, like Borderlands 2, or you know, the Fable series or whatever, if you guys got feedback for me, you want to leave them in the comments, you know, that'd be great. So that's kind of what I've been up to, kind of checking out some single player stuff again, and that kind of leads me into my next topic, which was this Sandy Hook Elementary shooting that occurred, and we're almost up to a week away, you know, a week since that happened, and one of the guys that I follow, and I know a lot of people follow him, Boogie2988. He posted a video where he addressed it, you know, and he addressed it strictly because there's a lot of the media, and apparently there's even a congressman who's really taken a strong stance, saying that, you know, violence in video games, of course, had a lot to do with, you know, has a lot to do with people getting violent and going on rampages and all this, and there's simply no evidence to back it up that I've seen. And I'll link Boogie's video. He's got a lot more specifics and stuff. He's done some research on it. And you can go to that video and watch it, and you know, he'll give you the information maybe that you're looking for. But there's basically been no studies that support that it's any, you know, in any way contributing to the propensity for these violent acts to occur. I mean, the guy who did the Sandy Hook shooting apparently played Mass Effect 3 and StarCraft were the ones that was quoted that he played. And I mean, those wouldn't be what any of us would consider the violent, on the scale of violent video games, you know, at the upper scale of them. I mean, not at all. I mean, you know, if we were talking about Call of Duty and that kind of stuff, you know, maybe, you know, Far Cry series and those types of things, maybe, you know, you could say, you know, well, there's some serious correlation between the violence there and what he did. But, you know, StarCraft, you're killing, you know, aliens on a strategy map, you know, kind of like risk on the computer in space, you know, I mean, that kind of stuff. So anyway, so it's just more of the same of the history of how the media and to a certain extent politicians and everybody kind of just jump on the bandwagon about whatever the flavor of the month is, of what they can blame, whatever the topic of the day is that needs a villain. They jump on that particular bandwagon. And it reminded me, I talked about this in another video after the Aurora, Colorado shootings. I actually had a video and I talked a little bit about, because they had brought that up again, of course, at that time, was about video games, etc. So I actually have a video where I talk about it, and I mentioned that there's, back in the day when Dungeons and Dragons was in its heyday, there were maybe a couple of instances, if I remember correctly, of some kids committing suicide and things like that happened to play Dungeons and Dragons. And of course the media, the politicians, everybody all said, oh, it absolutely had to be because he played D&D. Had to be. No other possible reason. That must be the culprit, etc. And there was a whole smear campaign about how it was devil worshipping and evil, and it was going to make kids commit suicide, and there was going to be mass suicides of kids that played D&D. I mean, just you name it. Anyway, so and it kind of came to a head with this one kid named Dallas Egbert III, and I'm not going to go into a whole lot of details. I had that other video that I went into a lot more detail about, but the bottom line is he was a genius. He went away to college at a very young age. He had some mental issues and things, and he disappeared. And so because he played D&D, they assumed that it was related to his disappearance, that had to be the reason. It was whatever in the game caused him to disappear, So the parents hired a private investigator, and the private investigator, he follows the lead of the D&D lead, as to, and talks to all of his friends that played and all these types of things. The bottom line is the kid was found, in my other video. This is a correction, by the way. In my other video, I said that he was found. There were some tunnels that were underneath the university they went to, and I said in my other video that he was found in those tunnels. That is incorrect. I have since done some more research and everything, and it turns out that he was actually found working someplace. He basically fled the university. He didn't want to be there anymore, and he went somewhere, and he found a job, and he was living in another state. And the private investigator found him. So it had absolutely nothing to do with Dungeons and Dragons. The kid just didn't want to be at school. I think he was 16 and he was in college, and none of the people that he was in college with were his age, and he got into drugs because of depression and all these types of things. It had nothing to do with Dungeons and Dragons. But if you go back and listen to what the media said, it had to have been Dungeons and Dragons. They were convinced of it. Well, so the point I'm trying to make is that now they're trying to say they're convinced that video games are part of the reason why all these people are starting to flip out and everything, and of course they don't have the evidence to back it up or whatnot, and they're going to try to pass legislation or something to change how video games are made or whatever the case may be. And I just urge everybody, like if you watch Boogie's video, he urges everybody to get educated on the topic, and and if, depending on how strongly you feel about it, if you need to contact your congressman and say, hey, look, like in my case, I'm a 46-year-old guy that's been playing video games for about almost 40 years. I mean, I started playing video games in arcades, and played the first console, Pong. I played that in the 70s. I mean, so absolutely, I've played every, you name it, Doom, Quake, Call of Duty, Medal of Honor, Team Fortress 2, Half-Life. I mean, you name it, I've pretty much played it. And I have all kinds of friends that have played video games all their lives. Not a one of us has ever been so much, in a bar fight, and so, take it for what it's worth. So that was just kind of bugging me. and I thought I'd go on record about it. And and on that, the kid Dallas Egbert III, there was actually a book written by the private investigator, and it was called The Dungeon Master. And the author's name is William Deere. So if you're interested, it's a pretty interesting read. So if you want to check that out. And I'm going to end this with saying this is actually a couple hours away from what is supposed to be the end of the world. So I'm having a Guinness in honor of, if this is the last night, I'm going out drinking a Guinness. And I hope you guys have a good night, and I'm sure we'll see each other later.